Mitch McConnell continues to be someone who Donald Trump is holding a grudge against. In fact, during a recent interview with Maria Bartiromo, Trump brought up the former Senate Majority Leader and just showed the world how salty he continues to be. Let's watch.
Going into the midterm elections, what do you anticipate?
I think we're going to do very well. We need good leadership. Mitch McConnell has not done a great job. I think they should change Mitch McConnell, and we definitely need.
So there's Trump with his raspy voice saying that they need to change Mitch McConnell. And of course, Trump is upset that Mitch McConnell had the audacity to hold him responsible for essentially encouraging the insurrectionists to storm the Capitol on January 6th. Trump will not let that go, which makes this story so much more interesting when you keep in mind that Mitch McConnell was asked about Donald Trump possibly running for president in 2024. And how would Mitch McConnell handle it if Donald Trump actually won the nomination? Well, let's hear how that conversation went down.
So you said that if he got the nomination, you'd stand by him. Do you still say that today?
Well, I'm going to support the nominee of the Republican Party. I do predict, however, there's going to be a robust competition for the nomination. You know, I've got 3 or 4 members of the Senate who are going to be running for president in 2024. Once that all sorts itself out, as the Republican leader of the Senate, obviously I'll be supporting the Republican nominee for president in 2024.
And do you think that person will have to have former President Trump's backing?
You'll have to win the nomination. And I think once the nomination is secured, the party will come together and give it our best shot.
Okay, so this is actually a very serious political story.
Is it?
Is it? Okay, it is. And it has ramifications for Democrats and not just electoral ramifications. I'll get to all that in a second. But first, Trump, I mean, what a goofball. We need to change Mitch McConnell. We need to change him. It's not working. Okay, and
listen, this is what people like about him.
Yeah.
This is what people like about him. And now that he's not the president of the United States, I can comfortably say that his delivery is appealing, entertaining, people love it. Because people love the drama, people love the conflict, and more importantly, as much as I despise Donald Trump, there's something admirable about authenticity, period. And he's certainly authentic. He can't stand Mitch McConnell, and he makes it clear in that interview he doesn't hold back, and that's why people love it. What I find hilarious is that Mitch McConnell has not even realized at this late juncture what happened to the Republican Party. He's still completely in denial about what the Republican base is really about. And you're gonna see more of it as we show you more video of that interaction with Martha McCallum. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, so look, first of all, Anna's 100% right about how Trump captured the Republican Party and some independents. So does the whole country love him? No, the majority of the country despises him, as we do, right? But there is a very sizable minority who loves it, and mainstream media has never understood it. Mitch McConnell's never understood it, and it's actually kind of amazing that they can't understand it. That is how thick the Washington bubble is. The guy sounds authentic. Now that's a super ironic statement, and we should make note of that because he's a legendary con man. So he's one of the least authentic people, literally in the history of America. But he can't. He's not smart enough to be strategic, so he can't hold his tongue. So he just whatever's in his head, he blurts it out. He's like, I mean, sometimes to his detriment, to the point of revealing his own con. Remember with Saudi Arabia, he said, they give me $30 million for apartments. Am I supposed to not like them? Like, man, he just says it. Like, yeah, they give me money, I do whatever they want, right? And so people then mistake that for being honest. And there's a difference between can't hold back and authentic in that populist, non-strategic way, and actually being honest. He's not at all honest about his intentions. So that's an important distinction. But the most important part of this story is the politics of it. I don't mean for who's gonna run in 2024, and I don't wanna get into that nonsense now. I mean, Trump is a blunt instrument, and he says, me no like Mitch. Mitch, please, okay? Or he would never say please, but he would say the other one. Anyway, so he says, me no like him. Me think he's bad. And he called him a dumb son of a bitch, etc. All this stuff. Now imagine Joe Biden calling Chuck Schumer a dumb son of a bitch. That ain't never gonna happen, right? But that is to some degree Biden's detriment. Now, I don't want Biden going ballistic like Trump and attacking people for no reason and being irrational and non-strategic, etc. But could Biden use some of the Trump, well, it's not a strategy because Trump never has strategy, but that kind of line of attack.
Yeah, that tough guy treatment toward members of his own party who refuse to fall in line. I think that Biden does need, and look, Biden could never get away with speaking the way that Donald Trump does. It's just not his brand and it's not gonna work for him. However, I do think that Biden could use his folksy delivery in basically hitting people like Joe Manchin over the head, not literally, figuratively, in order to get him to fall in line on incredibly important policies that we need to get passed, including the PRO Act, including the For the People Act, reforming the filibuster in the very least so we can get these policies through the Senate.
Yeah, so, as one of our callers said a long time ago, again, proverbially, he said, beat them with a stick and they will do. Okay, and so look at that. Mitch McConnell, Democrats have been saying our whole lives, Mitch McConnell is immovable object. You cannot move Mitch McConnell. Now we're gonna show you a video in a second of Mitch McConnell laying into Donald Trump. And now look at him today. After Trump gives that interview, he goes, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. I will support him if he's the nominee, sir. It turns out Mitch McConnell is movable,
right?
If you try. And what do I always say on the show? If you fight them. It's not to feel good, it's strategic. But no one in Washington understands that except Donald Trump. And so we give credit where credit is due. And look, he moved Mitch McConnell really easily. And how did he do it? By asking pretty please? No, by hitting him over the head politically. And look, that's just a fact.
There's an important component to this, right? And it's not just, oh, if you just fight, you'll win. There's an important component to it, and it's exactly what Mitch McConnell has in his mind as he's trying to diplomatically answer these questions that Martha McCallum is asking him. So let's go to the second part of what Martha McCallum asked him and what he said to answer. I think this is an incredibly illustrative part of the conversation. Let's watch.
Former President Trump this morning saying that it's time for, he said that you have not done a great job and that it's time for new leadership. What do you say to him today?
Well, look, we're looking to the future, not the past. And if you want to see the future of the Republican Party, watch Tim Scott's response to President Biden last night. He's the future. That's where we're headed. We're not preoccupied with the past, but looking forward.
So you don't think that your party listens to what he says about you or about your leadership?
What we're doing is focusing on the future, and not the past. And if you want to see the future, watch Tim Scott's great speech last night. He laid out what the Republican Party today and tomorrow is going to look like.
I want to ask.
All right, Cenk, I'm going to need you to hold, because I have a lot to say. All right, get ready. 3 main points. Let's start off with a quick point about how it's important to compare Donald Trump's authenticity to that ridiculous fake smile that you saw from Mitch McConnell as Martha McCallum was asking the question. I mean, Mitch McConnell represents exactly what not just Republican voters, but what voters in general can't stand. The inauthentic, insincere, nonsense, lie peddling that you see in that video right there. You can tell that Mitch McConnell despises Trump. You can tell that Mitch McConnell does not want to endorse Trump in any way. But the reason why he's not being honest and he's being inauthentic is because he understands that Republican voters right now still find Donald Trump to be incredibly popular. They still approve of the job that he did when he was president. And so McConnell doesn't want to cross them. What he's trying to do there, though, which I think is fascinating, is he's trying to convince Republican voters that like the new hot thing in the Republican Party is Tim Scott. When in reality, if you listen closely to Tim Scott's speech, his response to Biden's speech last night, what you hear is old school Republican messaging, bootstraps. I used to be poor, but I worked real hard and look at me now. That was what his speech was about. His speech was about how you shouldn't rely on the government. The government can't do much for you. And what I think is good news for Democrats, if they actually think about this strategically and listen to their voters, is if Republicans keep going in this direction, they're gonna lose and they're gonna lose big. But Democrats need to do a little more of what Republican politicians do, which is listen to their voters. So for Joe Biden, He knows that his proposals are popular. So why is he caving to the desires of corporate Democrats when he knows that he has the backing of not just Democratic voters, but independent voters as well when it comes to these policy proposals, and in some cases, even the support of Republican voters? So Biden just needs to fight, and he needs to use the support of Democratic voters to basically have corporate Democrats like Sinema, Warner, Manchin fall in line. Yeah. That's what I have to say.
No, 100%. And again, what they don't understand in Washington is that honestly, Biden, McConnell, Tim Scott, all of these guys, Democrat and Republican, they sound like standard politicians. It's just like a certain drone that they have. So in McConnell's case, it was pretty brazen in that interview because he just repeated a talking point. People hate it when you repeat talking points like a standard slimy politician. We're not looking to the past, we're looking to the future. You just said that in the last answer. That means that's the one thing you have prepared, and you're a slime. Look, everybody can tell, except people in Washington. But again, people on TV are like, oh, well, that was savvy talking points. Oh, please. And then, but Biden has a certain cadence. They think it's folksy, and I think that does work with some of the older voters, especially Democratic voters. But overall, but people know he's been in Washington for 50 years. But And I don't think Biden has it in him. That's why I think this is his high watermark. I don't think he's able to bully and intimidate his political opponents. And yes, that's the whole point we're trying to tell you guys. It has strategic value. If you do not move Manchin and Sinema, you're not going to pass any of these bills. And the way to move them, Trump proved it without a shadow of a doubt. There was a couple of prominent politicians like Mark Sanford in South Carolina who opposed him. And he eliminated them. He made sure that they lost in a primary. You know what happened after that? Every single Republican politician healed. That's how politics works. And the Democrats either don't get it or don't want to get it.
I do have a possible recommendation for Biden where he doesn't have to, I guess, abandon his folksy nature and still find a way to kind of use his position to bully, for lack of a better word, Joe Manchin to fall in line. So for instance, during his speech, you know what he could have easily done? We need to invest in renewable energy. That's gonna be a big part of our infrastructure plan. And what we're gonna really focus on is bringing those jobs to places like West Virginia. I commit to infusing money into a wind turbine manufacturing plant in West Virginia. Like specifically mention the states where these corporate Democrats are from, and that's how you do it. I mean, when you think about it, the F-35 fighter jets, right? Remember we did a story about how they're faulty, they have all kinds of mechanical issues. They keep manufacturing them, even though the military doesn't really like to use them because of all the problems they have. But the reason why Congress continued to fund that project is because the defense contractors are like, we'll create jobs in your state. We'll manufacture them in your state.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
100%.
we know how corporations do it. We know how private companies do it. They entice through saying that they're gonna do job creation in these states. Why doesn't Biden do that? And last night would have been a perfect opportunity to do it.
So last thing on this, look, unfortunately I think we're gonna talk about this for the next 3.5 years, but there's a great example of LBJ. He pulls a politician in that he needs to vote with him. And he tells him, and the guy's excited, he's in the Oval Office, etc. He says, oh, great news, we're gonna go in another room and we're gonna do something together. And the guy said, what are we doing together? Oh, we have a press conference planned. And so here's the situation, like let me just use Manchin as an example here in what Anna brought up. If Biden were doing the same thing as LBJ did, he would say, look, we're either gonna go out together in that press conference and we're gonna talk about how we're gonna bring 85,000 new jobs to West Virginia and you get all the credit because you're signing on to the infrastructure bill as I have it, okay? Or we're not gonna go out together. I'm gonna go out by myself and say, for some reason, Joe Manchin has decided to cost West Virginia 85,000 jobs. 85,000 jobs, that's actually 15,000 less than 100,000, but 15,000 more than 70,000 because it's 85,000 until it gets drilled into people's heads that Manchin just screwed him out of 85,000 jobs. So now Trump, because of his nature, would repeat things over and over again. And that was accidentally super helpful to him because it pushes forward the framing that you want. And when you put Manchin in a spot like that, man, that's a tough tough spot to be in.
He don't like that.
Right, but Biden's never gonna ever gonna do that. That's why all the wonderful talk he had last night about his agenda, it's very unlikely to happen. That's it. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.